Craig Bennett elevates showbiz news and views to an elegant art form, making it fun, fabulous and kind.
Hello, Marion.
That's why so many stars love talking to him.
I'm married.
He's been doing it in all media.
It's very hard to live with that kind of scrutiny.
For all his life.
That's what I want.
Thank you, Harry.
He'd never seen such unprofessional behaviour.
I was just so happy if I would remember my lines.
Oh, you ready?
And he's enjoying it now more than ever.
Ian Horner has been a reporter and a producer in TV news and talk
Sorry about the
shows,
late start.
and an interviewer and movie critic on radio, and a writer and editor in newspapers and magazines. You get the drift, not much he hasn't done. He's always reviewed movies, his first love.
Hi, I'm Maurice Holland.
But I didn't come here to be a demo singer for Celine Dion.
Thank you, Ian.
And is on first-name terms with so many people that he's interviewed.
Ian.
Hello, Ian. It's Alan Carr here.
Ian.
Please come backstage in Sydney. Let's have a glass of wine.
Do it, baby.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you, darling.
Well, hello. It's terrific to be back with you. Thank you for joining us. So first of all, Craig sends his apologies. He's not here today. He's off doing his world tour with the wonderful Carlotta. In fact, we caught up with him at the show at Penrith, and it was good to see everybody. Jeremy Brennan was the musical director. He's a terrific musician who's done lots and lots of work on stage and screen. Oh, it was great to see Carol. Her stage name is Carlotta, and it was great to catch up with her again. She is an incredible character, and the audience just loved her. The audience also loved listening to Craig sing and tell lots and lots of lovely stories of his times with the stars. My husband was there, and we had a really nice night with a whole bunch of friends. So Craig says, sorry he can't be with us at the moment, but he's looking forward to joining us again real soon. Okay, in today's podcast, we're going to review Elsbeth, the new show from the creators of The Good Fight and The Good Wife, and it's terrific. It's a lot of fun, as you would expect from the people who made The Good Wife. We'll review ALAN CARR's new TV show, which is just a hoot. It is fantastic. It's not like anything he's done before, and I can thoroughly recommend it. We'll talk about that. Also, I was waiting ages and ages for this. It's the season 3 of Hacks, and it's back. And it's really, really good. Season 2, it took a little while to get back into gear. And then when it hit its stride, it was just as good as season 1. Season 3 is terrific. It starts off great from the very beginning. We'll talk more about that and have a look at it. And also we'll review a play called Cock. But first, it's time for Craig's news and gossip.
I'm going to tell you an incredible story.
This is the hottest story since the Chicago fire.
Surely you can't be serious.
This is the greatest yarn in journalism since Livingston discovered Stanley.
I am serious.
Walter, I got the story. It's a pip. I got it exclusive.
And don't call me Shirley.
We got the biggest story in years.
What a story!
Craig's news and gossip.
Yeah, but without Craig, I'm sorry. I heard news just recently that they're making a sequel to one of my favorite films, The Breakfast Club. This was made by JOHN HUGHES in the 80s, and it became instant success for him. A bunch of school kids called it attention on a Saturday.
You're not fooling anybody, Bender. The next screw that falls out is going to be you.
Along with the teacher who's got to look after them.
What was that?
Eat my shorts.
You just bought yourself another Saturday, mister.
Crushed.
You just bought one more right there.
Well, I'm free the Saturday after that. Beyond that, I'm gonna have to check my calendar.
Good! Because it's going to be filled. We'll keep going. You want another one? Say the word. Just say the word. Instead of going to prison, you'll come here. Are you through?
No.
Cut it out.
You through?
Not even close, bud.
Gradually, one by one, they begin to open up to one another, taking on dares, picking on one another. But the barriers begin to come down, and even the very shy, frightened child who doesn't talk for the first half of the movie, she finds her voice. Thrilled to hear that there is going to be a sequel, written, produced, and directed by John Hughes' son, John Jr., got an awful lot to live up to. Original cast, including the wonderful Molly Ringwald, who has done an awful lot of different work. She's been developing her career as a singer. She translated the book that the movie Lie With Me was based on. A guest star on The Bear. She also had a major role in Feud Season 2, which was all about Truman Capote and the women that he surrounded himself with, the Swans. You know, I was actually having a chat to Bruce Beresford, the famous Australian director, and he said, you know, Ian, I based the Breaker Morant movie that I made on The Breakfast Club. I got the idea for it watching The Breakfast Club, which is all about a bunch of people trapped in a room, unable to leave. What happens in that room will affect the rest of their lives. That was also the premise of Breaker Morant. Can you imagine Breaker Morant based on The Breakfast Club? Well, Bruce Beresford says it was. Now, let's see what else is good to watch on screen right now.
How about a movie?
Let's all go to the movie.
Let's go to the movie.
Well, who didn't enjoy The Good Wife and the sequel, The Good Fight? They were terrific, really great, and they're sorely missed from our screens. But filling in the gap is a new series from the creators of The Good Wife and The Good Fight. That's The Kings. It's based on the character created by Carrie Preston. Elsbeth Tassioni is an attorney like you've never met before. She's a real cartoon character. She's really goofy, and you wouldn't have her any other way. In fact, she's the only character who can actually be cartoony, and if she wasn't as flat and as one-dimensional as she comes across, we wouldn't like her. So how do you introduce a new setting for this show? It's no longer Chicago, but it's New York. This is how the show begins, drawing obvious parallels with Sex and the City.
Welcome to New York.
The difference with Sex and the City was that Carrie was really put out that she got splashed by the water. She was horrified. But in Elsbeth is actually thrilled because she just loves the way that New York is unexpected, and you can get drenched at any moment, and she just likes it. So it's a great show. It's a really good show. I would say probably less is more. You could binge it, but I think you're probably better spacing it out. British comedian Alan Carr is a really lovable character. He's a terrific bloke in real life. He's just like he is on stage. He's approachable, he's funny, he's ironic, and he's certainly, if he's not down to earth. Well, he has just written a new show, which is called Changing Ends, and it's about his childhood, and it's based on the football terminology because his dad was the coach of the local football team. And as Alan recalls, can you imagine what it was like to grow up as a little boy who discovers he's gay and his dad is the boss of the local testosterone-filled football team? It would create some wonderful humor and some wonderful scenes in the show if you're going to make a film about it. Well, he has. It's a TV series, and it recreates his childhood using a little boy who looks so much like a young Alan Carr would, as you would imagine him. He's a delightful character. He takes himself seriously. He's only too happy to take the piss out of himself. And on the side, through some of the more moving moments and some of the funniest scenes, Alan Carr walks into the frame and gives you a little bit of a running commentary.
Believe it or not, there was a time before I was a national treasure. Didn't the 80s drag?
Hi, Hudson.
And they said I'd grow into me teeth.
Do you think you need those earmuffs? The lollipop lady always compliments me on them. Alan Carr. Ooh. Yes, the glasses and the teeth, that's the one.
You know what you need if you want to be a footballer?
Mullet, gambling addiction, rolled up copy of Razzer in your back pocket.
You'll be famous. You can turn around and say,
get out the way of my limo.
The whole show is absolutely fabulous. It's too short. So hopefully they'll make a sequel before the young boy who plays Alan grows up too much. I did have the chance to talk to Alan recently, and so I asked him about his childhood, which of course is the theme and the setting for this TV show. This is what he had to say. Did you ever wish you were straight?
Oh God, yes. When I was that weird twilight time between like 12 and 13, when you're fancying the PE teacher, and you're like, because people don't really understand it, it's very odd. You don't fancy any of the girls. You're chatting to the dinner lady about Golden Girls, and and it's just like, and then and then I was like, oh no, because I remember I was like goofy, fat, glasses. My dad was manager of the vocal football team, and then I started being gay. I was like, oh no, not today, Satan. This is the last thing I need. So yeah, that's probably when I was straight. But now I love being gay, and I think it's great the way it's going. And listen, I sound like an old fuddy-duddy, but the way we're going now, you're seeing like men like Harry Styles just looking so fabulous and flamboyant. And I know he's not gay, but I mean, well, we don't know, do we? Is he, isn't he? But just men going there wearing high heels and painting their nails and stuff. I mean, yeah. I mean, I feel very I always come across as Jason Statham. I feel like quite unimaginative when you see the gays now. And I'm like, oh, I just wear jeans and Crocs.
Axe is back, and I'm so thrilled. This is season 3 of this fabulous show. It's about a stand-up comedian played by the wonderful Jean Smart, who is in her 70s, and she's just a terrific character. She's a wonderful, wonderful actress. And she plays this person who is struggling with a career that's a bit on the slide in season 1, and then she gets a little bit of a rise and comes back. Season 2, she's struggling again. And season 3, she's about to move on from her residency in Vegas, and hopefully she wants to host a late night television show, which will be like the epitome of her career if she can get it. Now, the second fiddle in the show is played by Hannah Einbinder, who is a wonderful character who's a terrific foil for Jean Smart's character. Hannah Einbinder plays her writer, and they have an on-again, off-again relationship. She is a very clever writer, and she's a very clever young woman. And she's not about to take shit from Jean Smart's character lying down, and she gives it back to the point where she's constantly getting sacked, threatened. And Jean Smart, of course, reinstates her at the moment's notice because she desperately needs her. She's such a good writer. Now, that brings up the subject of the writing of the TV show itself. It'd be really important for a show about good script writing that it is written well. And it is. The writing scenes between Jean Smart and Hannah are nothing short of brilliant. They're beautifully timed and paced, wonderfully acted and delivered, and they're sharp, they're witty, and they're really insightful. It's an exercise in how to write and how to deliver good writing. It's really wonderful. It's just so worthwhile to watch. As opposed to all the other characters, there are characters on the periphery that are not really fleshed out. They're actually quite flat characters, but they're entertaining in their own right. But they're a different ballgame. And it's only when the two women are on screen that everything really sparks. But also, it's not afraid to take a few moments and get serious in wonderful scenes like this.
Your whole life, you say one day I'll do this, one day I'll accomplish that. And the magic of one day is that it's all ahead of you. But for me, one day is now. Anything I want to do, I have to do now, or else I'll never do it. That's the worst part of getting older.
I believe you told me that the worst part about getting older is the college in-laws.
That too.
I told you the writing was good. Give this show a go. It's well worth it. This is a play called Cock. I wonder what that's about. There was a similarly titled show called Dick's the Musical, which is now streaming. You can watch that. I got to say, I didn't get much into that. It was basically just childish rubbish. It was embarrassing. But Cock is a play with a very different attitude, very different storyline. It's about two gay guys who are in a relationship who've sort of hit the skids a little bit, and they're trying to work out where their relationship is going to go. And one of the guys has to confess that he's in the middle of having a relationship with a woman. This, of course, throws the other guy for a loop. And the rest of that act is about one of the guys who's trying to explain why he needed to experiment with a woman and see if he could find his feet in a relationship with a woman. He's embarrassed about it. He makes the mistake of describing her to his boyfriend or his maybe boyfriend that the woman is, she's a bit manly, as though that excuses anything or that it explains anything. It doesn't do anything at all, except in fact, it makes things worse, terribly worse. The play is all about the terminology we use. The play is about the boxes that we fit ourselves into or society tries to. It's a beautifully written play that I began to think, if this is going to go the way it's going, the writer, Mike Bartlett, is writing himself into a corner. And it ends up with a showdown between the two guys and the woman and one of the guys' father. And the guy's father is an important character because he represents conservative families, conservative generations. He represents a time when you didn't have to choose whether you were gay or straight. And whether dispensing with the boxes that we used to try and fit people into has actually made life easier or harder. In fact, now there are so many boxes. Do we try to fit ourselves into one or the other or several at a time? It makes it very, very confusing, which is what the character in the heart of this play is finding out. So I spoke to the two actors afterwards and I asked them about that. Wouldn't it have been easier a generation ago when we actually only had two boxes to fit into and we didn't have to try and squirm our way somewhere else?
Is that, I think this is actually you question to answer, but I will answer it. It's funny, I had this debate with someone recently because I feel like when there were less boxes, yes, it was easier. Things are always easier when there's less. I think maybe, but not for the people who are identifying as something outside of those boxes. I've spoken to some people that feel like the more boxes there are, the more watered down bisexuality becomes, and they have different ideas of what bisexuality is. But for my impression is that John is clearly a demisexual, and if this play was written now, and if these people existed now, I think they would all be armed, perhaps not the father, although he has done his research, with the word demisexual, attraction to someone who you, once you get to know them, regardless of sexuality, regardless of gender, rather.
Yeah, it's hard. I don't think it would have been easier if there were less options. Agreeing with what Andrew was saying, it's more of the fact of I think there'd just be a lot more people that are struggling through. Like, we were still able to capture the impact it had on John. So I think it would have a lot more of that happening to other people.
Yeah. Essentially, the problem still would have existed because it's about forcing someone into a label. No matter how many labels exist, that question doesn't change. What are you?
Yeah.
But they're in a monogamous relationship and there's no talk of polyamory, and that's much more normalized now as well. So perhaps that would have been an option explored in the play had it been written in 2024. Yeah.
With so many more labels to choose from these days, do you think it's easier or has it actually made life harder?
For whom?
Yeah,
I think it's easier for those who identify strongly with a label, but maybe a harder fight to get people to identify them with that label.
Definitely, there's still a lot of people out that have very old school views and values.
So I think coming out would be a lot more difficult if it wasn't just, you know, mum, dad, I'm a non-monogamous demisexual who sometimes, but I can be homosexual, or, you know, it's something like that. And I think the more words we have, the more options become available for young people particularly to go, okay, actually, I think that's what I am with that nuance.
And some of your favourite lines?
I went to a nasty breakup a couple of years ago that's still kind of resonating, and it's some of it I absolutely bring in and cathartically yell at you. the make a decision, just fucking do something, you piece of crap on the you fucking piece of crap on the floor of a shit road, explain yourself or something. That I want to scream that to someone in particular.
Because there was a long moment where I was single for like 3-4 years, and Stephen had no idea who or what I was. So there was a lot of times where I was questioning and looking inside myself, being like, I have no idea. Like, I don't know if something's wrong. Or a really big one is actually when F at the end is like, who are you really? That's actually a really big moment where John's like, oh shit, like, who am I really, sort of thing.
Ben Whishaw and Andrew Scott were the actors in the first production of Cock on the West End in London. Stephen and Andrew here in Australia are just brilliant in this production, directed by Darren Redgate, who's done a marvellous job. Now, please check out our interview with the man from Snowy River himself, Tom Burlinson. Here's a sample of what he had to say. Have a listen to this, and then we'll catch you next time. Cheers.
Kirk was a highly energised, very dynamic personality. And let's not forget that he was a bona fide Hollywood movie star who'd starred in many films and also produced his own film, Spartacus, Paths of Glory. So he was very experienced. And I think Kirk felt a little bit like he was in Mickey Mouse land. He was quite a dominating personality. I think I can say that. And there was a great sort of disparity in terms of status between him and me. I was in my first movie. I was a young actor. He was very experienced. So there was, and also he was a great script editor. He said, I said that in the other scene. I don't need to say that again. And he cut his own lines. He was demanding of the people around him, and he was demanding of himself.
Were you reminded that he was the movie star and you were the young novice?
Yes. yes, definitely. You know, Tom, if you don't say anything in this scene, it's going to be good.